Okay, I had to move my laptop and its camera is sitting on top of a trash can now, so I had to move it. So if it's a little bit wonky, I'm sorry for that, but I had to have it be big enough to get the whole two graphs in. So we're looking at a perfectly competitive market and firm. All right, we'll just say this is the corn market. So here is the market, a basic supply and demand curve, where this is the market price and this is the market quantity. This would be socially optimal too because the market is producing where supply hits demand. Remember, markets are socially optimal, not firms. Firms try to make a profit where markets try to find efficiency. Okay, firms care about making money. Markets try to care about creating efficiency. Okay, so you know that the price that the firm takes comes from the market. So here is the firm's graph. And you'll remember the marginal revenue and demand and price and average revenue are all the same thing. Again, if the price is $5 per bushel, that means every single time that you buy another bushel, it's $5 extra. And what that means is, remember, marginal revenue is the change in total revenue over the change in quantity. Well, the change in quantity is always 1, and the change in revenue is always 5. So it's also 5 every time. We know the price is 5 because it gets it. We get it from the market. So, and the demand is perfectly horizontal because, and perfectly elastic because there are an unlimited amount of substitutes. In this market, there is no distinction between farmer A and farmer B's products, right? And then, so that's why demand is also on this. So that's why margin revenue and demand and price, and for average revenue, it's just total revenue divided by quantity. So the quantity always goes up by 1, and the price always goes up by 5. So average revenue always stays the same every time. In this case, 5, right? And then marginal revenue is just a normal marginal revenue marginal cost is just a normal marginal cost curve. It goes down and back up. We'll talk, and I'll make some more videos and remind you of why the marginal cost curve goes down and up. Remember, it happens to do with the marginal physical cost and the quantity of labor and quantity of inputs. But this would be our profit maximizing quantity, where marginal revenue hits marginal cost, right? And to find out if we're making a profit, we need to have our ATC curve. In long run, perfectly competitive markets, you know that perfectly competitive firms make 0 economic profit. That doesn't mean they make 0 accounting profit. They make 0 economic profit. They make $0 more than they could have doing something else, right? Economic profit is about essentially the opportunity cost of doing something else. Accounting profit is just, revenue minus cost. So we go down and then up, and here's our ATC, and so we're making 0 economic profit, and so we're socially efficient here, allocatively efficient, socially optimal here, and we're also productively efficient there because productive efficiency means you're producing at the bottom of the average total cost curve, okay? So that's what this looks like. Remember, if the market changes, for example, if there becomes a larger demand for corn because, corn becomes really cool, then any of the reasons why demand will shift, change in the price of a substitute, change the price of a complement, income increases, change in the number of consumers, any of it change in taste, whatever. If demand goes up, right, and then here is our new market quantity, and here's our new market price, then all of a sudden we have marginal revenue sub 2, demand sub 2, price sub 2, and average revenue sub 2, and all of a sudden now we have a different output point. Right now, here is where the new marginal revenue curve is hitting the marginal cost curve. So this would be our second firm, and you can see here is where our price is. Here is where the ATC curve is hitting the quantity, right? So all of a sudden now our firm is making a profit. It's making a short-term profit. Assuming that it's a constant cost industry, we're making a short-term profit. Because we know in the long run, remember, perfectly competitive markets are easy to move into and out of. So if this is the corn market and corn is making a big profit, maybe farmers who are making wheat or whatever, they're like, you know what, we're going to plant some corn because there's profit to be made. And as you know, that will move our supply curve this way, and then the price will eventually go down. It might go down so far it goes down below it, creating a loss. But in the long, and then people will leave the market until we find that equilibrium where we are at a long run output points where ATC is bottomed out. You'll remember that if it's an increasing cost kind of market, then the more crap that is produced, the supply shifts to the left because, right, the more stuff that we have to make, the more the price of inputs go up. So, for example, if we produce a whole bunch of corn and everybody who's making corn, then maybe the price of tractors goes up, and that's part of the supply curve. Remember, supply is an input cost. That's one of the functions of the supply curve. So that possibly could shift us a little bit to the left. In an increasing cost market, they probably won't do that during a pandemic question, but just in case you know that the long run would have a little bit of profit because the supply curve would not be quite as the supply curve would not go up quite as much because the more stuff you make, the price of the inputs goes up. But this is what almost all of them will look like in a constant cost industry, where our long run is right here, and any changes will change to see if we have a short run profit or loss, and then eventually that will go back to our long run.